Good morning, everyone. I am Gigi from Singtel. So thank you for joining the Trust 5 Cybersecurity Virtual Workshop, Transformation Journey for Financial Services Sector, Post-COVID Next-Gen Security Practices. So this is the second last section for our workshop series. And today we are pleased to have John Sun, the System Engineering Manager from ASEAN and Greater China regions from Zscaler, to share more on the Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange architecture. So over to you, Jones. Hey, Jones, I think you have muted.
Hello, Jones.
Now, Gigi?
Yep, it's fine now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm James from Zscaler, and I'm the SC manager managing all the system engineering resources for Southeast Asia and also Greater China. Just a quick background of myself. I've been with Zscaler for more than 7 years. Before Zscaler, I was working for other companies like one of the pioneer of the NGFW market, and also some other vendors like proxy vendor or other application delivery vendor. So I'm very happy that I got invited for this session, and I hope you will enjoy my session today. So today I'm going to talk about a hot topic in the security market, which is zero trust, and I'm going to talk about what the world is happening, what is happening here, why we hear more and more people talking about zero trust nowadays. Also, then I'm going to talk about the difference between traditional security model and the criteria for a real new zero trust architecture. In that part, I will leverage some of the concept from Zscaler because honestly, I don't see a lot of vendors delivering a zero trust architecture from the ground. And then I will move to Zscaler zero trust exchange architecture to leverage it as an example to share more how Zscaler actually delivers zero trust as a service to our customer. And in the last two parts, I'm going to share the benefits and use cases by adopting zero trust, and also share some of our customer voice, okay, about what benefits they have gained from adopting Zscaler zero trust. So this will be the agenda today. Hopefully we can probably finish the session in 45 to 50 minutes, okay, so that we can have some time for Q&A as well. Okay, so let me start. So let's talk about what's happening in the world. So this is some of the CIO top priorities or initiatives that I have gathered from our internal source and also some other external sources publicly available. Okay, we are seeing a lot of CIOs, no matter from banking, insurance, or even retail and other sectors, having these similar priorities. So the first one is accelerate or adopt digital transformation. Okay, this has been a top priority for many years, honestly, at least more than 5 years, honestly. But at the same time, we are also seeing cybersecurity again being another top priority, because probably one of the reasons is because of the ransomware. Okay, we are seeing more and more ransomware, and some ransomware actually will leverage other solutions as well to penetrate into customer level. We will touch it a bit in the upcoming few slides. Work from anywhere. I think probably even some of our attendees for this meeting, for this session, are actually joining the session from remotely or at home. Okay, so work from anywhere, no wonder, is another focus. Although we are seeing a lot of positive things happening about the COVID, but at the same time, many people also say that, you know, even post COVID-19, work from anywhere, work from home will still be the norm. Yeah, probably it will be a mix between work from anywhere, work from home, and also work from the office. Okay. Some third party also name it as more like a workplace transformation. Cloud migration, same. And it is actually closely related to item one, digital transformation, because cloud is always one of the way to adopt or to push digital transformation to make it happen in an enterprise environment. Micro segmentation as well. We are seeing micro segmentation more and more often as a priority in the past 2 to 3 years. And one of the reasons probably is because of the cybersecurity risk from ransomware and other sources. That's driving people to consider micro segmentation. Of course, cost saving is another topic. AI, automation, and legal and compliance, especially you have offices in Europe, right? But you can see that, for the top 5 topics, I would say they're actually very correlated because driving work from anywhere and adopting cloud actually help to accelerate digital transformation. But at the same time, you also need to consider cybersecurity in order to make sure that you can adopt digital transformation without friction from security. That's why we need zero trust. So many people will think zero trust is more like a security topic. Well, actually, it's not. From many of the conversations we have made with many enterprises, zero trust is actually part of the business discussion and part of the digital transformation discussion, because once you can adopt zero trust model, you can actually adopt the digital transformation and cloud more easily. And this is the focus of today's session. So let's talk about workplace transformation, which is one of the hottest priority that I have just listed. So workplace transformation is part of digital transformation. It's also, I would say, one of the byproduct from cloud adoption, because once you adopt the cloud, you can allow people to work from anywhere more easily. And COVID-19 also pushed it to be a hot topic from the industries. And it doesn't just apply to any specific industry. It applies to all industry from our observation. So we can see that people, after digital transformation, they will have more tools available to them. During COVID-19, many users are asking for tools available to them as well. So that also drives digital transformation. And the end goal is that we can transform the workplace so that it doesn't mean that you always need to work remotely, but you will have the option and flexibility available to you to always feel free to work from home or work from the airport when we have unlocked. Okay, so this is what we are seeing. And the problem is that if you are facilitating workplace transformation, it means that all users can, or many users will have a laptop available to them, even they're from the banking sector. And you need to think about how to support that without security concern. Okay, this is what we used to build, or we are also maintaining or operating from enterprise point of view. In most cases, many enterprises are still heavily relying on these kind of traditional appliances sitting in data center or some hub sites globally, okay, to protect their users, no matter it's for outgoing or inbound connection. But this actually has a problem because it doesn't help to accelerate or migrate to work from anywhere model, because you have to go back to the office, you have to go to a network which has all these appliances ready to you before you can get protected and work from anywhere. Okay. During the COVID-19, we have a lot of banking customers talking to us, and many of them actually have adopted our solution during the COVID-19. And the challenge from them most of time is because is actually because of this infrastructure, I would say. So many of them are having this infrastructure, and they have difficulty to expand the coverage of this infrastructure to remote workers. So what we are seeing is that apart from the digital transformation that we are having in the past few years, we are also seeing that people also need to transform their security infrastructure in order to facilitate work from anywhere as well. So, of course, in order to support work from anywhere, I think to many enterprises, VPN technology is something that they must have. And in many cases, they have many enterprises should have been adopted or using VPN for many years. But at the same time, if we look into those third-party information we got from many websites, you can see that every 2 or 3 months, you will hear something about a VPN security. So we know VPN is important as a user, and same to hacker. They know VPN is very important to enterprise, and also is a backdoor, is a channel available to them to go or access enterprise network. So that's why we are seeing more and more hackers or cyber criminals trying to leverage VPN to penetrate into customer network. If they cannot penetrate into customer network, they can also potentially use some technique like ransom DDoS to try to bring down your VPN network and ask for money. This is getting more and more popular and common. Okay. So if you look into some of the popular VPN exploit attack or techniques, we can see that hacker can leverage a lot of different stages or skills to compromise the VPN infrastructure of an enterprise. So first, of course, like APT in the past, they would try to look for unpatched VPN servers. They would try to look for zero-day vulnerability of VPN solutions as well. And because VPN is so critical, we are using it every day to support work from anywhere or work from home. So we are seeing many VPN servers are not being patched timely. There's always a time gap because it's hard to bring down VPN during the COVID-19. So that's why many attackers found that they can find unpatched VPN servers easily. Once they find a server, they can try to access the network, get the access, and then try to see if they can leverage the vulnerability to find some to fill some logs and cache passwords or even some config files available from the VPN servers without any login. And then probably can get a high privilege access and move around the network, and also try to disable MFA or other endpoint security check or endpoint posture check. And finally, probably they will try to see some ransomware in the enterprise level. So for example, TravelX, they actually got compromised by similar techniques. I wouldn't say it is exactly the same, but it's also starting from unpatched VPN servers. Okay, so this is what we are seeing from VPN exploited point of view. So this is one of the reasons why we need zero trust. And that's why traditional infrastructure may not be able to help, because if you are still using VPN infrastructure, honestly, no solution can always be patched timely, and there's always zero trust vulnerability. So how can you actually leverage traditional VPN infrastructure to provide a zero trust architecture to protect your resources and further accelerate digital transformation and support workplace transformation as well? Okay, that will be a question. So I think the root cause is that we are actually relying on the castle, the traditional perimeter level security to protect our users and resources. So this model has several, I would say, deficiencies. So first is that it is very, very good for protecting attacks from exterior, which means you're building all the wall and river to protect your users and resources sitting internally. But remember, if you guys are doing or planning for digital transformation, your data will not be always staying within the castle, and your user nowadays suggested or supported to work from outside. Then how can you use this infrastructure to attack not just from external but also from how can you leverage this kind of infrastructure to protect attack from externally or internally? It doesn't work anymore. Okay. Also, another drawback of this infrastructure is that it's a relatively weak in terms of protecting or trying to reduce or attack exposure from internal users. Okay, if your users is actually sitting internally, you will not have the wall or also the river to segregate between the user and your data center or your application service. So if you're trying to use this kind of design to protect your cron gel applications, normally it doesn't work that well. Another deficiency we have observed is that this model in many cases is not granular enough. In many cases, it's probably just doing some port number control or application level control, but doesn't leverage identity enough. Okay, and also during the access, for example, if you're doing remote access from VPN, probably you do identity based or device posture check. But if the access is from an internal user sitting in your network to an internal application, normally what we have seen is that you probably haven't enabled identity based and device checking before you allow the access. Visibility as well is not up to standard as well. And it doesn't favor workplace transformation because once you have this kind of infrastructure and leveraging traditional VPN to secure your users, in many cases, you are actually asking users to connect or send all the traffic back to the offices, back to the data centers before they can access the internet and internal resources. So this will not favor workplace transformation, and this will not be scalable. This will be slow if for your remote workers to access the internet as well. And that's why many third-party authority like Gartner, they're saying, in order to accelerate digital transformation, you actually need to move away from traditional network security architecture. And at the same time, if you want to do zero trust architecture, you want to protect your user and allow them to have workplace transformation, and you want to protect your data, no matter it's existing in the cloud and internally, you also need to change to a new model because your data is everywhere and your user is everywhere as well. So the new up to speed zero trust model should not be built by or built with your traditional on-premise infrastructure. It must be more like a cloud-based platform that can support your internal and external use cases. Okay. So this is what I want to highlight from the market situation or status perspective. So to summarize, we are seeing more and more people try to do digital transformation, support workplace transformation, but at the same time, security is always a concern. And .NET Cloud also will bring new security concern. So what we see is that we cannot keep on using traditional infrastructure on premise to deliver zero trust model, because that will become a roadblocker for other business initiatives. And those new business initiatives will also make the traditional model of security infrastructure less and less efficient. Okay, so now let's move to the next part of my session, which is to talk about to share a little bit more details or highlights about what traditional security model cannot do well, and what should we do or consider when we look for a new zero trust architecture model by leveraging some of the intelligence or mind sharing from Zscaler point of view. Okay. So the first thing we found is that many traditional infrastructure is heavily relying on like firewall or like a load balancer or WAF to help to secure users and applications. So, for example, if you have a service, um, in many cases, if you want to allow more people to be able to access it, you probably will publish that server to the internet. Even that application is only required to be accessed by your internal users. But in order to support BYOD environment, you probably will expose that server to the internet. Which means, just like a phone system, anyone can call your mobile phone. Even someone that you don't like someone from a mortgage company or those finance company. They probably will call you every day and ask whether you want to have some now arrangement or not. Okay, this is what we are facing every day, and this is how we build our application access in the past. One of the example is Citrix. The other example is VPN services. In order to support COVID-19, we are seeing a lot of enterprises putting their VDI solutions or like a VPN solution facing the internet directly, so that anyone can call, even someone you don't like. Okay, this is what we are seeing. But a real zero trust model should help you to reduce or solve this problem. Okay, a real zero trust model should be able to provide you a backbone or exchange network so that your user or those third party, okay, even no matter if it's known to you or known to you or unknown to you, I mean, they will always just call a zero trust exchange platform and only get connected after they have been checked based on identity and the device posture. For example, this application is published to internal users only with internal corporate device. So in that case, what we can do is that even you're working from home, the solution should actually do identity and device posture check. And from the exchange network, and if that is authorized, and only if it is authorized, the user will be able to access that application through the zero trust exchange network. And the applications should never be published and only exposed to the zero trust exchange network. Okay, we may think that the design from the left hand side is pretty common. This is what we have every day. There's no solution for that, but actually that's not the case. We are seeing more and more solutions that can provide you an experience or design on similar to the right hand side. For example, Zscaler, so that your applications is not published to the internet. Your VPN gateway is not published to the internet. Your VDI solution is not published to the internet. It is only connected to the exchange network by outgoing connection without allowing anyone to connect to it without authorization or checking. This is what we believe to be one of the criteria for you to build a zero trust model. Okay. Second criteria we found to be important when you build zero trust model is to only allow application access instead of network access. So when we talk about zero trust, it means we don't want to trust anyone. What does it mean? We just mentioned we don't want to publish our application to the public because we don't know who's to be trusted. We should have the user being checked by the exchange network before we connect the user to the application. Okay, this is point number one. For point number two, what we need to do is that we should not trust the user or application request from another server just based on the network. We should not trust someone or a device and allow the access to the whole network because they are in the network. What we should trust or what we should do is that even we trust the user after we check the user identity, just like what we have done for point one, we should only allow the app access. So let's see the animation here. So imagine if now I have a visitor to my office, to my headquarter office. Okay, normally to a finance institute or an enterprise, you have a reception trying to do all the trying to gather all the information and make sure that this visitor is visiting the person that working in your company, right? So the traditional network security model is working just like this animation. That after the visitor got a badge, we don't do any escort, but allow this visitor with the access and badge to go to anywhere. Okay, of course we know this is a security risk. I think in many cases nowadays, enterprise doesn't allow this anymore because normally what you will do is that you have someone to escort that visitor. But let's talk about it later. So if we put we confirm this use case to what we're doing in terms of network security, this is the problem. So we will check whether the user has the access, just like a visitor, whether we should grant them the badge. Once we grant them the badge, we actually allow them to connect to not just the applications they authorize to access, but and many other applications as well. This is what we have observed from many enterprises. They grant a laptop, corporate laptop to users, and the users can work from home. And they will actually extend the corporate network to the user. So that user will have a lot of access to many applications. Okay, this is a problem because we are giving them too much access. So what we think is that what we should do is instead of allowing the visitor to go to anywhere, we should have a person to escort the visitor so that even if a visitor got a badge, we will have someone to make sure that the visitor is only allowed to access meeting room 23, and they will be escorted after the access. So in this case, we only allow the visit from the visitor to that specific room, and we will also escort the visitor after they have completed their visit. If we compare this to the traditional network security well or the enterprise network, what we are doing is that we should always have a zero trust exchange network or architecture or model so that the user will always only allow it to access a specific application that they have requested for access. And for any other access, it will be blocked. So I'm not sure how many enterprises are doing this nowadays, but from what we have observed, many enterprises are not doing this. And this is the real way to do zero trust. Okay, we should never trust the identity of the user and grant them the network access. We should not trust the user because they are from a trusted network and allow them to have network access. We should always have a broker-like component to always escort the user to the right application and that application only, and only to those privileged applications. Okay. The third criteria for a real zero trust model is about how you actually do the scanning and checking before you allow the traffic. Honestly, especially for internal networks, we're seeing a lot of customers granting access to users based on kind of like firewall or inline inspection. Let's see the animation here. So what we are seeing is that many enterprises are actually using something like security checkposts for harbor tunnel, for example, that we only do the security checkpost inline. We don't stop the car. We allow the car to go when we're doing the checking. Okay. So this is what firewall does. And when we find a problem, we will reset the connection. This is what we do for internal zero trust or internal security in the past. But what we believe to the right way to do is that we should always stop, check the car, inspect before we allow that access. Let's see the animation here. Okay, this is what we believe. So proxy is not something new to enterprises, especially for banking customers. Okay, most banking customers should have proxy for internet access, but in many cases, not for internal access. What we believe is that proxy is probably one of the best way to inspect traffic and to check users' identity or device posture before we allow access. Okay, so but because of the performance and other concern, we are seeing enterprises leveraging firewall to do pass-through architecture-based scanning or security for internal access. But from Zscaler point of view, by leveraging our solution, we believe that enterprises actually will be able to actually use a proxy architecture for both external and internal access, so that we will always do the checking needed before we allow the access. Okay. So this is something we believe to be an important component for zero trust. Point number 4, yeah, in many cases, people may think that this is not quite relevant to zero trust architecture, but we don't think in the same way, honestly, because as mentioned before, security is not just about protecting your internal users anymore. It's about protecting your users and data that will be available everywhere, which means you cannot keep your castle model and try to protect your users within the castle, because your application will be outside the castle. Your user will be working outside the castle. Okay, your data will be in the cloud. Your user will be working from home. That's why we believe in order to provide a real zero trust solution or model to protect your data, you actually need a cloud solution. Okay, what you need is not just a traditional infrastructure or adding more hardware or software to your data center. That's not the real solution to you. The real solution should be a cloud-based model. And the most important thing is that the cloud solution should be a cloud-native solution. Instead of putting virtual machine to Google Cloud or AWS. Although we are seeing a lot of vendors trying to do that, but we don't believe that's the right place. Imagine, let's take Netflix as an example. When Netflix built a cloud or the solution or service, I don't think anyone will think that they are putting a lot of DVD players in the cloud or in a data center. That's not how they build the Netflix. That's not how they build the service. What they build is that they actually have built a multi-tenant infrastructure so that you can have your video streaming on demand. That's its Netflix. So when enterprise consider zero trust solution for security, we believe that you should look into something like Salesforce or Workday from application area, which can deliver cloud-native multi-tenant solution to you. Instead of telling you how I can now put my firewall to or NGFW to Google Cloud or AWS so that you can subscribe my service. I can help you to do managed VM services. No, that's not the right way to provide a real zero trust cloud-based model or cloud-based solution to enterprises. The last criteria we want to share here is that in order to, again, it's cloud related, in order to adopt a real scalable, high performance zero trust solution to cover your users and data everywhere, what we believe is that you need to check carefully whether that solution is actually building over common IaaS providers like AWS or Google, which in many cases they will probably not always process your traffic locally, because for many of these IaaS providers, they probably can easily have 200 to 300 data centers available to you very easily. But at the same time, across all those data centers, not all of them can support a third-party vendor to host servers or computing power there. So in reality, in many cases, although there are like 200 to 300 data centers available from AWS, Google, or Azure, in many cases, only 10% or a little bit more than 10% of data centers that third party can actually host a virtual firewall or their software or VM solution there. So for example, if you are having 50 offices globally, in many cases, your users is probably sending traffic to something called edge data center, which is more like a routing hub. And in order to get their traffic being scanned and processed, the traffic actually need to go to another centralized data center, which in some cases they call it compute destination or computing data center, to process the traffic and go back to the edge data center before the traffic can actually send to the destination and users. And this will introduce a lot of additional latency. So if you're looking into a zero trust cloud-based solution, make sure that you check with the vendor whether they are using popular third-party cloud solutions. If that's the case, ask them how many locations they can actually process the traffic. What we believe is that for a real SASE zero trust solution, you should have data center globally that can process the traffic, do the scanning locally in the data center, in all data center as well, so that you are not actually building a backhauling solution with third-party provider. Okay, this will be very important, because nowadays when we do security, we cannot say, yeah, I want to block everything because I think it's risky. To a certain extent, the zero trust model is not to block everything, but to make sure that we are reducing the risk exposure and reduce the security risk, so that we can facilitate and accelerate digital transformation and the business. Okay, so although having a cloud native solution is probably not one of the criteria for from security point of view to adopt zero trust model, but at the same time, if your zero trust platform is slow, I don't think that will be a right solution, and you will not be able to go zero trust by that solution. So this is the 5 requirements or criteria we believe a real zero trust architecture should be able to fulfill. So for enterprises, we suggest you guys to consider these 5 criteria when you are looking into a zero trust solution. So now, in my third part of my session, I want to share a little bit more about how the Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange architecture look like, with a little bit more details. Okay. So from Zscaler point of view, a real zero trust model should fulfill all the 5 criteria, and then at the same time, identity is one of the most important components, because identity, no matter it's user identity or device identity, is the only thing that we should trust. It's not the network. It should be always identity based. And from Zscaler point of view, we need to be the exchange network that will help you connect your users to the application resources. Okay? And also make application invisible to the internet, so that, for example, even you need to allow remote access. Your VPN, we don't have something like VPN gateway exposing to the internet, which will probably become a backdoor to third party. And we always use proxy architecture to make sure that nothing is passed through before we scan or check. This is what we believe to be very important as a zero trust model. Of course, when we build all these components or the whole solution, we are leveraging a cloud native multi-tenant infrastructure with processing power in all data center globally. Okay, so this is what we do. And if we go deeper, we can actually further segregate what we can deliver into 4 pillars. Okay, the first pillar is about Zscaler Internet Access, which is about internet access, and the service name is called Zscaler Internet Access. We always call it ZIA in short. What this area can do is that we can actually provide our zero trust network to bring your device, office, or users to the internet by our global 150 data centers. Okay, it is fast, and we will have many different cybersecurity protection available. For example, we do have a sandbox from a cloud to help you to scan the traffic. We can do SSL at scale, so that if you are not doing SSL because of performance concern, you can feel free to use our SSL inspection to scan all traffic to uncover those risks without concern. We also have very decent and comprehensive data protection solution to protect your data from the cloud or during the data transit between the device or user to the cloud. Okay. The major goal is to reduce the risk, improve productivity, and reduce costs as well by not leveraging traditional infrastructure. For example, what we can do here is that we don't need your branch office or remote workers to backhaul the traffic to your traditional infrastructure sitting in the data center anymore. Instead, we facilitate local access, direct access, the shortest path, so that even the user is granted to have a laptop, no matter where they are. For example, even when they are in the office, I heard from many customers, even users are in the office now because they have a laptop that they can bring back to home. Even they're physically inside the office, there will be a chance that they can always use their cell phone, Wi-Fi, hotspot, or the Wi-Fi from 7-Eleven, if your office is just next to 7-Eleven for internet access. Even they're having that kind of internet access when they're in the office, we can still protect the users by Zscaler. This is some of the features that we can provide from these ZIA services. Okay, so we also deliver something like an NGFW, full proxy, sandbox, DNS security, data protection, and also browser isolation. All you need before you allow a user or device for internet access. And this is one of the sharing from a bank that before Zscaler, they got hit by CryptoLocker with a lot of employee click the links and more than 6,500 files got destroyed. But once they moved to Zscaler, we actually help them to block all those access, and there's no more infections happened. And this is from one of the top 50 global finance companies globally. The other part of the solution or another pillar is CPA. It's called CPA, Zscaler Private Access. This part is mainly to, as we said, to do the escort for visitor, so that any user or any officers, whenever they need to access an application, we don't need you to expose your servers or your VPN gateway to the internet. Instead, what you need to do is to install a very small footprint, easy to install VM machine in your data center or application network, so that connector will always connect to our Zero Trust Exchange network and also the user. And every time when a user is asking for a specific access, we will always check the identity, device posture, the device status before we allow that specific application access. And the connector is playing the escort role, that it will always check and always only allow that specific application access request from that user. If the user is requesting for another application access, the Zero Trust Exchange will check the privilege, and the connector will escort the user to only access that application. Okay. And if you have multiple cloud, what we can do is that we can also use similar technology to make multi-cloud access easy. Because what you have to do is just to install our small footprint connector everywhere, so that the Zero Trust Exchange platform will always find the corresponding application for the user and do the escort. You don't need to change your network and you don't need to complicate your network design as well. And this solution also works for on-premise access, which means you can also move our Zero Trust Exchange component to your on-premise network, so that between your internal user and your internal application, instead of allowing the whole network access, we can also have our component here to do the escort. Okay, to make sure that you only allow app access instead of network access. This is the CAPA solution. And actually, it actually helped enterprises to fulfill a lot of requirements from Gartner CTNA. If you have a plan to look for CTNA, this will be a right solution and a perfect solution for you. The third area probably is not exactly related to security, which is about digital experience. What we are seeing is that lots of enterprises, after they adopt digital transformation, they will see challenges in order to understand what application is working well, when what SaaS application is not working well, and probably which user has issue when they are trying to access some applications sitting in the cloud or internally. So this digital experience is to help enterprise to identify the issue quickly when they have adopted a more and more cloud application. Again, this is not exactly security related, but what we want to share here is that once you have adopted our solution CIA and CPA, you can just enable this feature by a few clicks. Let's move back to security discussion. So another area we can deliver from our Zero Trust Exchange network is to protect your workload. Okay, we are seeing more and more enterprises care about their workload. For example, micro-segmentation is quite workload focused, and this is one of the CIO top priority in 2021. One of the reason is because ransomware actually brings down a lot of workload easily. That's why many enterprises, apart from adopting network segmentation many years ago, many of them started looking into, hey, apart from putting similar servers in one zone, one segment, what else can they do in order to further reduce the risk exposure from their workload or servers? And this is the area we want to cover here. Apart from bringing your user to the internet securely and bringing your user to your application securely, we also want to provide another innovative way to protect your workloads. So if your workload is sitting in the cloud, what we can do is that we can do posture check, no matter it's SaaS application like Salesforce or O365, or your IaaS like AWS Azure workload. What we can do is that we can check the configuration there to make sure that there's no misconfiguration that probably, for example, will expose your S3 bucket to the internet. Okay, and that can, if you have developers overlook that, or using some default password for some of the resources, that can be a data leakage. Also, for workload sitting in the cloud or on-premise data center, okay, it doesn't have to be in the cloud. It can apply to your traditional workload sitting in your data center as well. Instead of doing network segmentation, what we can do is that we can leverage our intelligence and technology to fingerprint your application and allow those whitelisted application access to another application. So that even without network revamp or segregating your network resources, you can still achieve network segmentation and even go further to micro segmentation. Okay, we call it app segmentation. What we do is that we will fingerprint all the create a baseline and fingerprint all the legitimate application access, and create a zero trust ID for all the application access, so that you can use our baseline to automate your policy, or you can manually change the policy to achieve zero trust access for between application to application and user to application as well. And the final thing is that for workload that require internet access, or for workload that is sitting in multiple clouds, what we can do is that by installing something like our cloud, something we call cloud connector, we can make sure that the different workloads sitting in different cloud can connect to each other without complicated transit gateway design. And at the same time, if the workload needs internet access, we can also bring the traffic very easily to the internet. Okay, this is what we can do in terms of the workload protection. And this is the 4 areas that our zero trust exchange network can do. Bring user and device, bring user to the internet securely, no matter where they are. Secure the user to application access, no matter it's from remote workers or from internal network, internal application access. We don't trust them by default. We can do some digital experience checking so that you can identify access, performance issue easily. And we can go further to also secure your workload so that cloud workload can be inspected to avoid misconfiguration, and also help you to do application to application micro segmentation without revamp your network or network segmentation. Okay. And we also work with other partners to further make the zero trust platform more comprehensive. For example, we know you need SIEM, we know you need SIEM, right? You need you need to do log correlation and analysis. So we also integrate with many SIEM solutions available in the market, like Splunk, for example, or Curator, or other solutions from Microsoft or Symantec as well. Okay. We also integrate with many popular endpoint solutions so that you can also leverage the intelligence from the endpoint solution and further leverage it to and share those information to Zscaler for access control decision. We also integrate with other identity management solution so that they can help to do the identity checking, and we can get the identity from them to and use it to as part of the zero trust access control decision. Let me quickly go to those use cases and benefits. So by adopting zero trust model, the first benefits is that you can accelerate cloud adoption easily, because now you have full coverage for all devices, networks, and users. And so you have less concern to move data to the cloud and probably when adopt other IaaS or moving your application to the cloud as well. Branch office transformation is another benefit, because now with a cloud-based zero trust solution, you can simplify your branch office. In many cases, you can probably just put a simple SD-WAN solution in the branch office for all the networking, and leave all the security and enforcement from the cloud to the cloud. Work from anywhere as well. So once you have a zero trust model from the cloud, you don't need to worry about where your user, and you can always feel confident and comfortable that they are always protected. Some other benefits, for example, you can increase productivity. So now zero trust or security is no more a roadblocker to business, or it doesn't slow down the business, or it doesn't reduce the business agility anymore. Actually, you can increase the productivity as well and the business agility. And it will help you to reduce the maintenance effort, increase the business agility, and sometimes you may have cost reduction depending on how bulky your traditional infrastructure is. Okay, and after all, we help IT and also the security team to be a business facilitator. The final part of my session, the voice from enterprises. This is a public reference we got from National Australia Bank. You can find the whole case study from our internet site, okay, our public site. So they have more than 1,600 branch offices globally with more than 35,000 users. So they got hit like many enterprises by the pandemic. So they need to support remote working environments as soon as possible. And what we have is that in 3 weeks, we'll have them scale from 1,000 to 15,000 of remote workers. And this is what they mentioned from the case study. Okay, so this is a use case from CPA, but actually National Australia Bank is also our ZIA customer. So they actually have adopted two of the most major components of our Zero Trust Exchange platform. We also have other customers like Siemens using our solution, our Zero Trust architecture to protect their users and help them to transform digitally. And also GE. You can find those YouTube video from YouTube about they are actually very happy customer and they always help us to cover public events and OV as well. And these are some of the other codes from our other customers. Like, okay. So you can see that at the beginning they probably has the initiative to cover work from anywhere, cover remote workers, but after all, security is always a consideration. Performance and the scalability is also a consideration, and that's why at the beginning we emphasize that you need to take care of the security, and the security from Zero Trust should not be a roadblocker for further digital transformation and work from anywhere. And that's why you need a cloud solution to provide the best and modern Zero Trust architecture to cover your users and your network and your devices and data as well. And also from banking sector, sorry, we cannot disclose their names, but just for information, we have a lot of banking customers adopted our Zero Trust model. Like for example, 7 out of the 10 world's top private banks, 2 out of the top 5 banks in Europe. Actually, we also have several other banks from the top 20 in Europe as well. 2 out of the top 5 banks from Australia, 2 out of the top 5 banks in Hong Kong, and 2 out of the top 5 banks in Japan as well. Okay. So if you are from banking sector, you have concern whether you can get compliant with Zscaler. I can tell you that yes, because we have experience. And when we build a solution, we understand that we are building a cloud solution that even government, bank, or healthcare enterprises will be able to adopt. So because we are cloud native, when we build a cloud, we have covered all the concern. So I would say probably we are one of the, if not the only one, probably we are one of the easiest solution for you to get compliant, but at the same time get all the benefits from us. So some next step probably to highlight here. So you can go to this site to find our get a test service analysis report, so that you can see how many resources actually can be identified from the internet by third party easily that will be of high risk. You can also check with our site to find a Gartner report about ZTNA, which is part of our zero trust architecture or part of our zero trust model. We can also set up a workshop or architecture session with you. Yeah, feel free to reach me or Trustwave. So that's the end of my session today.
So thank you, Jones, for the insightful sharing. I think we can leave the time open for Q&A. Is there any audience have any questions to Jones and Zscaler? If not, then maybe we can end this section. So once again, thank you, Jones, for the comprehensive and informative section just now. So tomorrow will be our last section for the workshop series where we will touch on blue teaming. So let us know if you wish to join. So once again, thank you everyone and Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jones. Thank you.